Now, early this morning, I heard from the FBI, and we launched some pretty tough questions at the Bureau. They should be having press conferences in Washington saying, look, this is our investigation. This is what we're looking at in Minnesota on both sides. On both sides. We don't need silence anymore. American people need to know what is being investigated and why. Irresponsible jerks in the media are convicting Trump people all over the place, but what else is new? And then right-wing people, Trump supporters, many of them, just ignore any kind of situation that's going south. Neither of that serves your interest. We do. Okay. So the Talking Points memo continues our ICE Minnesota coverage. Donald Trump held a 2-hour meeting with Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem. Noem is under fire. The reason she is because she puts out statements too early after disasters like the shootings take place. Okay? She knee-jerks it. And then when videotape shows X or Y or Z, then she's looked upon as not credible. Ms. Noem should just slow it down. Okay? I am very adamant that any wrongdoing in this situation has to be investigated. But that's the key word, investigated. Not by some guy sitting in his living room watching CNN. That's insane. Okay. Now, I don't know what came out of that 2-hour meeting, but I don't think Ms. Noem is going to get fired, which is what the left wants. I don't think that President Trump is going to go in with a hatchet. What he will do is try to calm things down, as he should. And that's what I said. Now, the Department of Justice is investigating. We know that. And that's, of course, the FBI. But it's not transparent, as they say. I hate the word, but we don't know what they're investigating. Subpoenas have been issued for Governor Walz of Minnesota, but we don't know what the details of the subpoena are. And we should. And a subpoena has been issued to Mayor Fry. Now, we know that he is now required to appear in U.S. District Court, Minneapolis, February 3rd at 9 a.m. in the morning. That's when he has to show up. Okay. So they're both under investigation. And we assume for insurrection stuff or impeding federal agents. But again, we should know. It is very important. Now, part of the investigation is whether the authorities in Minnesota actively blocked federal law from being laid out. You can't do that. Okay? On the other side, we don't know. ICE can't investigate ICE. The FBI's got to go in with an elite unit, as I said yesterday, to see what happened, to see if some of those agents, Border Patrol 1, ICE with the woman, did something they should not have done. That's fair. Now, Kash Patel is the director of the FBI. We invite him on this program. Nah, come on. Press conferences? No. He did appear with Maria Bartiromo on Fox on Sunday. Roll that.
But how was he threatening Border Patrol? You've collected the evidence, you said, right? You have the handgun in your possession?
That's right.
And how was he using that handgun in terms of threatening Border Patrol? What was the threat? He had his camera, right? He was filming it.
That's something that I will let the DHS and the prosecutors, because they are the ones investigating that case. I don't want to stylize that evidence, but I trust the men and women on the ground who are trained professionals to only use it when it's absolutely necessary. And I trust Secretary Noem's leadership and DHS and HSI to do the right thing, as they've always done in these scenarios.
Okay. And then that was a responsible statement. You got to back your guys, but you're on a partisan network Sunday morning. What good does that do? What good does that do, Mr. Patel? Have a press conference or come on this program because this program goes all over the world. And whatever you say is going to be, everybody will hear it. All right. Now, there are three kinds of people in America vis-a-vis accumulating knowledge about stories. There are three kinds. There are you, who wouldn't be sitting here listening to me unless you wanted facts, because that's what we do. Facts. Then there are millions of Americans, but it's a dwindling crew that want to hear their own opinions reinforced. They go to cable and network news, because that's what those people specialize in, telling you what you want to hear. And then there are perhaps the majority of Americans who don't consume any news. They don't know anything. And they hear stuff. You know, their friends say things, but they have no frame of reference at all. But they vote. They vote. And they form opinions, uneducated opinions, but they form them. Now, we have been fabulously successful here for 9 years. And we have a very good staff, hardworking people, and we're smart and honest. But I have to reach a different audience, okay, what they call a linear audience on television. Okay, we are on television too, on the first and all of that. But scheduled television, I've got to reach those people. So I go on News Nation, which is not a network that is pandering to anybody. Not. Last night, I had a very interesting discussion with Leland Vittert. Go.
Trump has clearly changed his worldview over the weekend. How would you characterize it? Backing down, strategic pause, pivot? What's happening?
Well, he wants to stop the madness. Donald Trump knows this is no good for anybody, and he will. He's going to make a deal with Walz. I don't know what the deal will be. But the most important part of this for News Nation viewers isn't about the individual politicians. It's about the misreporting of this story in the totality. There are two different stories here. The first story is the violence against the two people who are dead. There should be an FBI task force in Minneapolis right now, right this moment. I don't know if there is one because Kash Patel has not held a press conference. Where is the FBI director? Where? You can't have Homeland Security investigate Homeland Security. You can't. Why do we have the FBI? You have so many potential crimes in the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota. The only bureau who could do it would be the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Where are they? Where is Kash Patel? All right? You can debate videotape all day long. You can say whatever you want to say, but there has to be an overriding authority in this state. And there isn't. Did you see, Leland, and because you've been studying it like I have, one Minneapolis police officer protecting ICE against the demonstrators? Did you see one?
No, but that's not the FBI's job to investigate the...
The answer is no. The answer is no. You didn't see one because there wasn't one there. And this is a public safety issue with dead people. No local or state cops. None. By order of the governor and the mayor. That is insane.
Well,
Now,
that may be
those
insane,
men-
Bill, but you want Kash Patel to investigate the governor because he didn't order the police to protect
You bet
ICE?
I do.
That's the solution?
You bet
Okay.
not protecting ICE. If the FBI comes in and finds that the agents, the federal agents, one ICE, one Border Patrol, all right, were derelict in their duties or used malice, I want those people indicted. Clear? Are we clear? But on the same token, you have got two elected officials that could be charged with rebellion and insurrection under the U.S. Code 2383. This is a rebellion. That is why the people are dead. Nobody brings a gun a loaded gun, nobody, CNN, to a confrontation with federal agents who are under siege. No one does that. That man did. Because, in my opinion, he was so crazed by the situation, so agitated, as I am right now, that he had lost all judgment. Now, listen to me. The authorities, governor, mayor, feds, have to control that. The controlling bureau is the FBI, not Homeland Security. They're doing what they're ordered to do. Find and detain people who should not be here.
Okay. Who is the modern John C. Calhoun about Walls, a despicable South Carolina senator who actually wanted the Civil War to happen? Do you think Walls wants the Civil War to happen and therefore should be arrested as though he was a Southern governor or something in the early or late 1850s?
I think there is evidence that should be examined, and you might be able to charge Walls with insurrection under the. You want me to read it to you? I got it right here. It fits Walls.
Would that be good for America?
I don't care. Look, anarchy is the worst thing that could happen. The worst. Right now, in this present moment, de-escalation is the best thing that can happen. So Holman meeting with Fry has my 100% endorsement. Walls calling Trump, vice versa, 100%. But that doesn't excuse what has happened and is happening, which is a rebellion against the United States law passed by Congress, by a state under the governance of Walls and a city where Fry runs. Look, if you continue, and I say you in a general sense, to allow states and cities to not enforce federal law, you don't have a country. It goes, okay? Everybody should understand.
So then why is Trump
now, here's the second part of the story. He's not backing down. He's trying to defuse. Why would you say he was backing down? You want a CNN contract? He's not backing down. He's diffusing the way he should. Now, here's the most important part of this whole thing, unreported, okay? There is a man in Shanghai, China, an American citizen. His name is Neville Roy Singham. He works with the Beijing government. He is funneling millions of dollars into the United States of America through 501s like Party for Socialism and Liberation, Democratic Socialists of America, Minnesota Immigration Rights Action Committee. There he is, okay? Connecticut-born, 71 years old, billionaire tech guy. He is funneling money here to these radical organizations who are then agitating professional people, communists mostly, because Singham's a communist, all right, to go in and foster rebellion. You heard that story reported? That is absolutely true. The man has been investigated by the FBI in the past, this Singham character, okay? This isn't some organic thing. This is a foreign power, Beijing, using this American citizen who lives openly in Shanghai in luxury, knowing that this man is funneling tens of millions, probably more, into this country to try to destroy the government. What the deuce is that? Where are you, New York Times? All right? That's the second part of the story. There's a local federal story, and there's the international story. And I've had it. You don't like what I'm saying? Blank you, because I'm telling you the truth. And this has got to stop and be exposed across the board. No more sanctuary states and cities. No more of this insurrection. It stops. And federal agents keep the gun in the holster unless you can't. Not I might. Got it, everybody?
Okay. We actually had somebody on. We've been following the Neville Roy Singham story. January 6th, this is the Free Press reporter who's been working on it. Take a listen.
Neville Roy Singham, he's a tech millionaire. He's also a Marxist, and he has very close ties to part of the propaganda machine of the Chinese Communist Party. And from 2017 to 2022, we were able to trace at least $20 million that was funneled into the People's Forum.
So
and that's the guy
why
behind
don't you
this
think
protest.
the FBI... Right. Why don't you think the FBI has indicted him or any of the people who are being paid, who are actually in the United States in these protests or in this resistance movement?
I don't know. I don't know where Kash Patel is. He should have a press conference tomorrow. I don't know. All I know is I'm a journalist and I'm telling you the truth. I am sick and tired of false reporting based on ideology, of pie in the sky garbage, of people like Whoopi Goldberg accusing agents of murder. How dare you? How dare you? What about due process, Miss Goldberg? And Disney knows that's going to happen. Knows it and puts it on. I'm fed up with it.
Okay. Where does this go from here? Betting odds right now, who will be the first to leave Trump's cabinet? Kristi Noem, 40%, Pam Bondi, 19%. Kash Patel isn't in the cabinet, so he's not there. Where does this story go, Bill?
It's up to President Trump to reorganize this whole immigration crackdown. That the executive branch has to reorganize it. And the president knows that. Okay? And I know he'll reorganize it. But at this point, it would be cheap shot for me, who isn't in the meetings, doesn't know the dynamic, okay, to say, well, Noam should go or this one should go. Americans can hold an opinion on it. But I'm a fact-based guy. I don't have enough information there. And I don't have enough information to convict Walls of Fry either. But there's certainly grounds for them to be investigated on the Insurrection Act, both of them. And there are grounds to investigate the ICE and Border Patrol agents who pull the trigger. Those investigations should be transparent. Patel should be holding weekly press conferences, and it should begin this week. All right, so I think we covered it all. And we're deeply involved now and invested in this case. Not going to go away. And that's a memo. Joe Biden weighed in. Now, I'm not going to cheap shot the former president. You know how I feel about him, second worst president in the history of our country. And it is entirely his fault that 2 people are dead in Minnesota because he allowed between 10 and 15 million foreign nationals in this country, Biden did, by executive order, not by a congressional vote or anything like that. And that mayhem has caused death and destruction from coast to coast. That is the truth. So Biden then says about the Minnesota situation on X, quote, Minnesotans have reminded all of us what it is to be American, and they have suffered enough at the hands of this administration. Violence and terror have no place in the United States of America, especially when it's our own government targeting American citizens. That is an irresponsible, foolish statement, but it's no surprise, all right? President Biden had no control over what he did for 4 years. It's a disaster for the country and has put enormous pressure on President Trump, who was elected to clean up Biden's mess. Everybody knows that, okay? But you can see one after the other, the problems that Trump has to face. Immigration chaos, high food prices, insurance prices out of control, foreign policy, Putin's defiance. All of it goes back to Biden, all of it. Yet Biden is such a narcissist, and he absolutely is, okay? And he never admit any wrongdoing, never has, never explained the open border, and never will. Awful, 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 awful. In Minneapolis was attacked. It was attacked by a group, okay? And there was damage. There was violence. And the reason the hotel was attacked was because ICE agents were staying there. Now, The Minneapolis police have not made one arrest, not one, in this case. There are cameras everywhere, everywhere. No arrests. So, I mean, if you're going to tell me that Minnesota and Minneapolis are not complicit in all of these things, then I'm going to call you not smart enough to understand the situation.